and transformational way to raise money from Ghana's gold resources. It comes as sections of the public, including the minority in parliament, raising questions about why government is mortgaging Ghana's gold revenue for $500 million, and that's the initial payment. But in a five-page statement, the fund insists the deal approved by Parliament is the latest example of our ability to be forward-thinking. My colleague Joseph Opoku Gato joins me in the studio with a copy of the statement. And Joseph, they've been wanting to clarify some issues raised in the media. They start first of all with the claim that the agreement makes it impossible for a future government to replace any of the managers on the Ejapa Royalties Limited board.
You recall Dr. Dominic Ayeni, the former Deputy Attorney General, made that point when he addressed the media recently on this particular issue. But the Minerals Income Investment Fund insists that Ejapa Royalties Limited will adhere to international corporate governance standards as would be expected of a publicly listed company, and that as such, the board of directors of Ejapa will be up for election each and every year at its annual general meeting, and that shareholders will be able to vote on the election of the company's directors, and that is the Mineral Income Investment Fund that would actually be the largest shareholder of the firm, and so they will then be able to exercise the vote on who should be the directors. It's not true that whoever the directors are cannot be removed going forward.
They also deal with the issue of the fact that the agreement was based on the Minerals Income Investment Fund, which was not approved by Parliament, and we had the minority spokesperson on finance, Kezola Tuforsen, make that claim, but also the bad idea to mortgage future revenues for gold royalties for a lump sum of money today, the whole idea of the agreement.
So the MIF, that's the Mineral Income Investment Fund, is insisting that they are not mortgaging the country's future revenues, and that's an investment into the future which will create an upfront some capital for the necessary development of infrastructure in the country, and that the cost of the capital through the transaction would be lower than even if government had gone for a loan or incurred a debt from any foreign entity. And so they believe that this is the surest way to ensure that Ghana is built not through aid but adequate investment.
Then they also deal with a claim of government attempt to mortgage 75.6% of the country's mineral revenue in perpetuity.
So they make the point that it's not exactly the 75.6% of all the royalties, and that it's only royalties when it comes to 16 different mining activities, so 12 mines and then 4 development assets, and that even in addition, Ejapa will still be earning from the dividend, the state will be earning from the dividend that Ejapa will declare every year. So they are not exactly mortgaging up to 75.6% of all the royalties, but then it's limited to just the 16 mining concessions.
And we know that the issue of ownership has come up very strongly. The minority would want to know who are the owners. They've been claimed that the president and Gabi's friends, Gabi Azario Chidako, who is a relative of the president and a leading member of the NPP, are the owners of this. What is the fund's reaction to this?
The fund is emphatic that this is not true, and that currently the company is 100% owned by the Mineral Income Investment Fund on behalf of the government of Ghana, and that once it's listed on the Ghana and the London Stock Exchange, there will then be people then getting shares subsequently. But for now, it has nothing to do with the president. It has nothing to do with Gabi Chidako.
Then the other claim of monies being given to the firm handling this issue. We've heard in reports some, saying that the firms are expected to receive some amount of $10 million. How true is that according to the Minerals Fund?
To be honest, I don't know where the MIF is
getting this from.
10 million from. What we've heard in terms of allegations is an amount of $2 million, which has come from the minority. But the fund in its statement says this is incorrect. Moreover, once Ejapa is publicly listed, the expenses will be available for scrutiny at its annual general meetings and in its inaugural reports, but they are denying that certain amounts have been paid to the legal.
Another issue that has also been in contention is the issue of the company being incorporated in the British Virgin Islands, that's New Jersey. How is the fund reacting to that claim?
They say they selected Jersey because it's a well-established jurisdiction for holding companies which are intending to list on the London Stock Exchange, and that is also a very familiar listing vehicle when it comes to the London Stock Exchange, and that Ejapa Royalties, because they'll be doing their primary listing in London, that's mainly the reason for that, and not for any other ulterior motive in terms of the Virgin Island listing.
And they talk about the fact that the deal was not passed with proper oversight and debate, but also that it will not benefit Ghanaians in the long term?
They say it was passed in situations having to do with all other acts that have been passed in the past. The minority worked out. But the statement from the fund is insisting that the agreements were in line with the various objects and powers of the Mineral Income Investment Fund as was set out in the act that actually went on to establish it. And that's how come they are implementing their processes without any hesitation, because they think everything was done right.
Let's go into the phone lines now and get more on this developing story. Kojo Poku is an energy expert and he joins us on the line. Thank you very much for your time here on Newsnight. I'm sure you've heard all that has gone on and the document and the deal. What do you make of it from your reading of what has transpired so far?
Well, good evening and good evening to your listeners. Personally, I would want to stay away with back and forth into ownership and all the speculation that is going on. I think that Parliament is there to do scrutiny. Parliament is there to make sure that when these things go to the committees, it is dealt with properly. Parliamentary committees and plenary don't normally do this scrutiny, and when these things are passed, then we now have press conferences and people now doing all sorts of insinuations. So I would personally want to stay away from that arena. And let's look at the deal. Is it something that will benefit Ghanaians, where we are now looking to borrow ahead and more or less basically do the future earnings of the country? We take the money now to basically invest. We did that with oil, okay, in the oil sector from 2007 when we had our discoveries. From 2008 upwards, we've been going into the bond market and borrowing 10-year, 20-year coupons to basically try and expand the economy so that the oil revenues will be used to pay back some of these coupons, the debt that we take. Let's analyze it. It has not really helped us as a country. I'll give you an example why it hasn't helped us as a country. Normally, people will tell you that debt is not a bad thing. When debt, you now have the 100% of the money going into the economy to expand your GDP, then you realize that it now creates growth, and your growth will now give you a much bigger GDP. So your debt to GDP ratio will be much lower. In 2008, when our debt was $8 billion, the debt to GDP was 34%. Now, 12 years down the line, as of June, our debt is $44 billion, and that to GDP is 72%. It tells you that relatively, if you do the like for like, the economy has not grown with with $36 billion coming into the economy.
And so is it likely that we're going to see a similar thing unfold as far as this agreement is concerned? Would it benefit?
No, it is what happens when we borrow ahead of time. The theory of economics is that you borrow, grow the economy so that the future, the youth will benefit from the bigger economy. But we have seen time and time again, I'm giving the example of the oil revenues. We have borrowed $36 billion in 12 years, and that has not grown the economy the way it was supposed to have grown the economy. So you're going to borrow $500 million against future royalties. What I would expect government to concentrate on is this. Last year, the total amount of minerals that left this country, okay, the big gold companies, if let's concentrate on gold, the big gold companies, the Newmont, the Anglo Gold, the Goldfields, they only accounted for 49% of the total gold export out of Ghana. Those are your big major companies who are well regulated, heavily taxed, and they pay all their taxes. They only account for 49% of the total gold exports. Who are the 51%?
And so just because of time, Mr. Poku, will this benefit us or not?
It wouldn't. I honestly don't think. It would be better to create an account like what we have with the stabilization fund and just be putting the royalties in there and basically see what accrues in 5 years and spend that. I don't think borrowing ahead of time has never helped us when we did it for oil, and it will not help us if we do it for gold.
Thank you very much. And that's Kojo Poku that joined us on this discussion on the Japan royalties agreement that is expected to raise some monies for the state as we mortgage some of the mineral resources, gold resources. Now, away from that, the Ghana Education Service says a stakeholder engagement is currently ongoing to fashion out a comprehensive plan to reopen schools following months of closure caused by the outbreak of COVID-19. Now, some of the issues for consideration is to determine whether junior high school students should be allowed to run a double-track system in the midst of the pandemic, and also to assess the impact of COVID-19 on the academic calendar and the need to truncate the academic calendar or to activate a fresh one, starting this year. Well, Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Professor Kwesi Opoku-Amankwah, has been speaking to the head of Joy News' Health Desk, Fred Smith, on the sidelines of the brainstorming session in the Eastern region.
We can't reopen school as the normal. We can only reopen school as the new normal. And in the new normal, there are things like ensuring the protocols, the COVID protocols. For example, social distancing is key. For example, wearing of masks is key, washing of hands and things like that. So how do you reopen school with all these things in place? If you are going to social distance, for example, can you use the spaces available to make sure that everybody goes to school at the same time? Obviously not. So what are the options that you have? How do you play it up to see that some go and then others will be there? And how is it going to affect the learning outcomes? Already they've had some loss of learning, no? But how do you do it so that at the end of the day, the little time that you have at your disposal, you should be able to do that. So for now, we are going to look at the hows, the whens, and the whats, and all that. What logistics do you need, and how? What amount? What financial support do you need, and all that. So we want to work out these things. The committee will ensure that we also engage other stakeholders, and then ensure that by the time we finish on 21st September, we have a comprehensive plan as to reopening of schools. There are two things that are key to us to resolve beyond ensuring the protocol. There is already a truncated academic year. Are we going to continue to finish that academic year, or we just leave it at that?
And that's Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Professor Kwesi Opoku-Amankwah, in that interview with head of our health desk, Fred Smith. Now, let's do some politics. Flag bearer of the NDC, John Mahama, is promising to legalize the use of motorbikes for commercial purposes when re-elected. Rounding up his last day of the campaign tour in Pando in the Volta region, the presidential hopeful said the implementation of the new law will be in the confines of public safety.
I've been seeing young people who have finished school, they can't find a job, and so they look for something they can do. And there are many of our young people, you see them riding motorcycles and transporting people from place to place. We call them Okada. But in our law, it says Okada is illegal. But Okada is a reality. It has come to stay. You can't stop it. And so I have suggested, and I say when we come into office, we'll legalize Okada, but we'll regulate it. We'll regulate it and we'll training so that they are able to do their business in a safe manner without costing the lives of people. They must obey all the traffic regulations in order that they be allowed to pursue their profession.
Well, let's explore this further. We've been joined by the Executive Director of the Bureau of Public Safety, Nana Yawakwada. Thank you very much for joining us here on Newsnight. Will this be safe for us, seeing the accidents we record on our roads? A huge part of it, we're told, is as a result of the use of motorbikes wrongly on our roads. Hello, Mr. Akwada. We seem not to have Mr. Akwada on the line. We'll correct that and bring him on to find out how this is safe for us going forward, because we know that the GMA, for instance, the accident and emergency center at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, they have given us the figures on the consequences of this, and in fact they have called for a ban on the use of motorbikes. We've been joined again by Nanaya Akwada. Thank you for your time here on Newsnight. Will this be safe for us?
Yeah, thank you. I said the last part of your statement before the question, you were saying they have called for a ban. Are you referring to the Bureau?
Not you, the GLA.
Okay.
And
all right, thank you. Well, there's no doubt that motorbikes on our roads are a major nuisance to motorists, other motorists, and even they are a danger to pedestrians. And the statistics are there to prove that. But we as a Bureau have called for the legalization of same, but it must be discriminated in that we have said that it should be applied to places where transportation is really, a problem, a challenge there, so that we can get them out of the city centers to, if you like, the fringes of the small towns and villages where they do not have means of transportation. They have very limited means of transportation. We did the call of the flag bearer from the NDC to legalize it. But I think that we need to interrogate the matter further with him. We need to have a good understanding of what he meant by they will regulate. I'm sorry, forgive me, my dog is really disturbing. We need to have a good understanding of what he means by it will be legalized but regulated. What is in his regulation? And I believe that once he comes out with what is in his regulation, we will be able to make further statements on that.
Thank you very much. That's the Executive Director of the Bureau of Safety, Nanaya Akwada, joining us on this, and we'll be exploring this further in our subsequent bulletins and programs. Now, politician Ekwadonko and Wuntumi Radio, owned by the Ashanti Regional NPP Chairman Bernard Entry Bosiakon, popularly known as Chairman Wuntumi, have been dragged to the court for describing former President Mahama as Papano. The plaintiff, only identified as Mary Ewusi, is demanding 1 million cedis damages and retraction, and also an apology and a restraining order to prevent them from making any such utterances. Again, here's a report by Henry Kwesi-Bedura to you.
Papano, Papano,
my party NDC, men blackmailing Ubia. I don't have anything to do with former President Mahama. I beg you, I respect the man as my father.
Actress Tracy Boache disputing claims in one of her numerous viral videos in her feud with musician Miss Bell that former President John Mahama is the father of her child and her benefactor. The phrase Papano has become popular with some, including MPP Chairman of the Ashanti region Bernard Entry-Bosiakon, known as Chairman Wuntumi, claiming the former president is the man being referred to as Papano.
That's our former president, John Dramani Mahama. Recently, we have saw a guest, Tracy Boache and Lesbeth, showing off their houses. Where did they get the money to buy that house? And they keep on saying, Papano, Papano, my old man. Now this is what is in town now.
Well, he's not the only one. In a video that has gone viral, controversial Ghanaian politician Ekwadonko boldly stated in an interview on Wuntumi Radio that Mr. Mahama is the Papano as the center of Tracy and Miss Bell's fight.
Papano, what the matter? The Papano, your friend Papano.
Ekwadonko, alongside Oheniba Nane Siedu, a journalist with Wuntumi Radio and Wuntumi Communications, have been sued by one Mary Ewusi for the comments Ekwadonko made on Wuntumi Radio. Mary Ewusi is seeking a total of 1 million Ghana cedis at an Accra High Court in damages after the three defendants acted in ways she thinks injured the reputation of the NDC flag bearer. She's also praying the Accra High Court for a retraction and apology, as well as a restraining order on the three defendants from making any defamatory statement about Mr. Mahama in the future. In the suit, she claims Ekwadonko made unfounded statements about John Mahama, which has damaged his character. Wuntumi Radio and Oheniba Nane Siedu, the reporter who conducted the interview, are also included in the suit. The plaintiff says they are a party to the offense as they allowed their platform to be used by Ikeadonko to make the damning allegations. It is not clear if the plaintiff has any ties to the former president, who is yet to comment on the matter.
Papano, unimno, Papano, Yakishano, Papano, Lechadie, Papano, Oyo baby. Oyo baby.
And that's Henry Kwesi Bedu's report. And just before we make way for a commentary with Gary and George, today we end our series on celebrating movie stars who are venturing into other sectors, far removed from acting. And today we focus on actor turned presenter Akrobeto.
Akwesi Boyedi, known as Akrobeto, began his acting career in the early 90s. Even though he could not pass his middle school examination, his love for comedy and acting made him popular and loved by a lot in his community.
I give all the credit to my father. I can say my father.
Okay.
He called Apostle Kojosaf. He's the one come over to my village at Chem Oda. I will be some village there called Ayubi. He came there to pick me to Accra.
Okay. At age 18, he left his hometown to Accra with Apostle Kojo Safo of Christo Asafo Band when the band visited Achim Eyurebi to perform their usual concert party in the town. He was a founding member of the Christo Asafo drama group, along with Ejako, Monsieur Siedu, and Nkomode. The group performed in the Key Soap concert party at the National Theatre. Akrobeto entered the movie industry around 2009 and has remained relevant, especially in the Kumaod movie industry till date.
I'm not shame myself that I can't speak English or blah blah. I don't go to school. I don't want it. It's not my mind.
Yeah. He has been featured in over 100 Kumaod movies and has, to his credit, several awards, including the overall Best Actor Award by the Ghana Movie Awards.
Most of people have some mind that if you are not educated,
yeah,
then you are nothing. So those days, they are shooting the English movie. They think they are the superior people because you speak English, don't hear the English. So they always put us down.
He is also tagged with the name "Who Knows Tomorrow" because of the size of his nose.
If it is not my nose, I won't be in this position. Maybe if I become nice guy,